Hi, I'm Niranjan Takle. I'm a professional journalist. I'm an engineer by education and a journalist by choice. I have been a journalist for the last 20-21 years. Uh, I've worked with The Week magazine as special correspondent. I was a bureau chief of Network 18 for the North Maharashtra. And I have got an opportunity to cover subjects ranging from culture to agriculture while I was working with The Week. And I could deeply understand the issues that actually trouble us. I want to talk to you about one of my latest stories that was about the mysterious death of Judge Loya. And I was in Pune. I was on an assignment in Pune, and I was discussing my earlier story, a story on Savarkar, with one of my friends. And the next day morning, a girl approached me in the same hotel, and she wanted to tell her story. She wanted me to tell the story that she had, and she said that she is Nupur Biani, the niece of Judge Loya. And you all must have read the story and the series of investigative stories about Judge Loya's mysterious death. But what I want to tell you is what went behind the investigation and how the story came about. And Nupur narrated me the entire incidents that had happened, how Judge Loya had traveled from Mumbai to Nagpur, how he was made to travel from Mumbai to Nagpur, and how he died mysteriously, and the family didn't have any document to substantiate that it was a mysterious death or there is something suspicious. But the family had number of questions because it was told that he died of cardiac arrest, but he was a teetotaler. He was 48-year-old. He was a sportsman. He used to play table tennis 2 hours a day for the previous 28, 29 years, and he was completely fit. The family doesn't have any cardiac history. His father and his parents are still alive. They are 80, 86 and 81, but they don't have any cardiac history. So it was really shocking for Anuradha Biani, Nupur's mother, who herself is a doctor, and she said that he was extremely health conscious, and it is just not possible that he died of a cardiac arrest. Uh, that too because he had called his wife at 11 in the night, and he spoke to her for 43 minutes in the night. So the telephone conversation was over at 11:43 in the night, and it was told that he suffered from chest pain at 4 in the morning. So what I was told by Nupur that it is very unlikely that after sleeping for 4 hours anybody suffers from chest pain, because the body, the temperature, the pulse rate, everything has got settled, and it is very unlikely in such situations to suffer from chest pain. But that was the thing that she was telling me, and most of the account was a hearsay account. Hardly 20% of what she told me was her first-hand information, which was something her uncle, Judge Brij Gopal Loya, used to share with her because she was living with him when she was studying in Mumbai. And after that, I mean, essentially, I didn't cover crime as such. I am a political and investigative journalist who covers political investigations. But so I was not personally triggered as such. I thought that whenever I am in Nagpur, where the postmortem and his death had happened, I'll try and contact the hospital for further details. So again, when I came back to Pune for another story, I went to meet Anuj Loya. Anuj was in his house in Pune. He was sitting with his grandfather next to him, sitting with his head down. And to start the conversation, I had asked him that, what do you do? He looked at his grandfather, and grandfather had replied to me that he studies. Then I asked him, what do you study? Then again the grandfather replied that he is doing law. Then again I asked him, which college? Is it ILS Law College? Again the grandfather said, no, some other college. So I asked him that why Anuj is not speaking up. To that, the grandfather told me that Anuj doesn't have trust in any individual in the world, and he doesn't have faith in any system, be it political system, judicial, or even journalism. And it was extremely shocking for me, and I just couldn't digest 18-year-old having no faith and trust in life. So I was coming down, and I remember I had called my daughter, and I asked her that I just met a guy who is 1 year younger to you, and he says he doesn't have faith and trust in life. And she said to me that what can you do? You cannot create trust about judiciary in anybody's mind. At the most, you can work and create trust about your profession, the journalism. And that became a triggering point for me personally, because I genuinely wanted my daughter and her generation to believe in the profession that I work in, and to believe in the profession from where I earn my bread and butter, from where I feed my daughter, from where I educate my daughter. And I genuinely wanted to do that. So I thought that whatever it takes, I'm going to do this story. And that, in fact, started the entire investigation that went on for almost uh, 14, 15 months. And I got access to the postmortem report, which itself had so many discrepancies. For example, the cause of death was written as coronary artery insufficiency, which is a cardiac arrest. And it also mentioned that all other organs, for example, lung, kidney, liver, the dura, are all blocked, are all congested. And it was very surprising because dura is a layer on the brain. It has nothing to do with a cardiac thing, liver, kidney, and lungs. And there is no reason for a cardiac patient to have all these organs blocked. And when I tried to talk to the experts from the medical field, they said that this is a case of probable poisoning and assault on the head. That is what probably created the congestion in the dura. And I remembered that the family had mentioned that there was an injury on the back of his head and there were blood stains on his shirt. So the things were substantiating, corroborating. And I thought that, this this must come out, because it was not only about the death of a judge, it was not only about the mysteries around it, it was also about the independence of judiciary. And that's what Nupur also had agreed. In fact, Nupur had said this. She was so innocent. In fact, when I asked her that, why are you taking so much of risk? Do you know, the kind of risk that you will be exposed to? And she said that, no, I know karate. So she had absolutely no, not, she didn't have an iota of uh, knowledge or imagination that the probable risk that the family would get exposed to. Her mother had talked to me for almost 1.5 hours. The grandfather had talked to me afterwards. Another sister also talked to me. And I filed it with the Week magazine with whom I was employed. Uh, but they took very long time to decide and finally told me that the story won't be carried. And so I decided that no, I must tell this story. And this particular judge needs and deserves justice to be delivered to him. So I thought that, and as I said, I was personally triggered, and as my daughter had told me that, and after her talking to her, I had decided that no matter what happens, my daughter should believe in the profession that I work in, and should believe, because I earn my bread and butter, I feed her, I educate her from the same profession. So I decided to quit my job with the Week magazine, and I tried to look around, and the Caravan magazine decided to carry it. The Caravan magazine also decided to continue the investigation, and that's how the Loya story appeared. The Loya story appeared on the 20th of November. That was my 50th birthday. And I remember that day evening, my daughter messaged me. She sent me a text message that, Baba, there are two days which are most important in anybody's life. First is the day when the person is born, and the second is when he realizes why he is born. And that was the day, and the most important day for my investigative journalism. Thank you.